If you really want to make yourself better, just tell yourself every day that I can do it. I will get better and better. And believe in yourself from the bottom of your heart. The power of words and ideas is tremendous. When you always maintain a positive mindset, when you get used to focusing on the good side of things, your behavior will change as a result. This increases the likelihood of a positive outcome in daily life. And the language of self-denial. I can't. I'm so unlucky. This will only consume your energy. From now on, give yourself some positive psychological cues. Always hope. Always believe in yourself, your life. It will be filled with more light and hope. Because language is not merely a tool to describe the world. It is a spell that shapes it. When you stop saying, I am so unlucky, you extinguish a storm of self-pity within, allowing moonlight to reach the windowsill. When you start saying, I can do it, you are in the dark room of your mind, pressing the switch with your own hand. Darkness is not a substance. It is only the absence of light. Likewise, despair is often just the silence of hope. So from this very moment, practice weaving light into every breath and placing hope within every thought. Your life is not a room waiting to be illuminated, but a lighthouse that you yourself choose to ignite, one that will never go out.
There is a silence that exists before the world begins. It is not an empty silence, but a fertile one, heavy with the unspoken potential of all things. In the same way, there is a silence within you, a core of quiet beneath the noise of daily living. It is in this inner silence that your words are born, not as mere sounds, but as the first architects of your reality. You have felt it, haven't you? That subtle shift in the atmosphere of your soul when you utter the words, I can't. It is more than a statement of perceived fact. It is a ritual. It is a small, self-administered spell of limitation. The moment the air carries that vibration from your lips, the walls of your world contract, if only by a millimeter. The light recedes. Possibilities that were, a moment before, shimmering on the horizon, now turn to mist and vanish. This is not magic in the fantastical sense. It is the fundamental physics of the spirit. Your I can't is a craftsman diligently sculpting the absence of your own power. But consider now the alternative. Consider the phrase, I will get better and better. Feel its shape in your mouth. It is not a boast shouted from a mountaintop. It is a quiet seed planted in the soil of that inner silence. It is a promise you make to the universe, and more importantly, to the most sacred part of yourself. It is a grammar of creation, replacing the grammar of decay. This is the power you hold. Your internal monologue is not a passive commentary on a pre-written life. It is the pen, the ink, and the very parchment. When you wake and the weight of the day feels like a stone upon your chest, the instinct may be to sigh and declare, I am so unlucky. This phrase is a key that locks a door. But what if you were to take that same key, turn it the other way, and whisper, today I will look for the small goodness. You have not changed the circumstances of the day, not yet, but you have changed everything. You have unlocked a different path, one that was always there but remained hidden in the shadow of your previous words. Let us examine the alchemy of a single word. Take the word can't. It is a full stop. A period placed defiantly at the end of a sentence, halting the narrative of your progress. It is a wall. Now take its counterpart, can. It is a doorway. It is an open vowel sound that invites the world in. It is not a guarantee of immediate success, but a declaration of openness to the attempt. The distance between can't and can may seem vast, an entire chasm of doubt and fear. But in truth, the bridge is built in an instant, the instant you choose to give voice to the possibility instead of the prohibition. This is the practice. This is the litany of light. It begins not with a grand, life-altering proclamation, but with the gentlest of corrections. When you look in the mirror and the face that looks back seems tired, worn by the years, do not mutter, "I am fading." Instead, meet your own gaze and offer, softly, "I am learning." See how the light in your eyes shifts? It is not a trick of the light. It is a response to a new truth you have chosen to author. When a task seems insurmountable, and the old, familiar script rises to your lips, "It's too much. I'm not capable." Pause. Intercept that thought like a sacred interceptor of your own destiny. Do not fight it with force, for force creates resistance. Simply let it pass, and in its place plant the new seed. I will begin with one small step. I have overcome challenges before. This is an opportunity to grow. You are not lying to yourself. You are not engaging in naive optimism. You are, with profound wisdom, selecting a different lens through which to view the same set of facts. The lens of "I can" does not erase the mountain. It simply reveals the path up its side, a path that was invisible through the lens of "I can't." Hope is not a frantic, bright-eyed wish for a future that is better than the present. That is merely fantasy. True hope is a deep, resonant frequency. It is a steady tone hummed into the core of your being, a vibration that aligns you with the inherent potential for growth and healing that is the birthright of every living. When you always hope, you are tuning your instrument to this frequency. You are not ignoring the dissonance or the sorrow. You are simply choosing to add your voice to a more harmonious chord. This hope becomes the background music of your life, a soundtrack that makes the frightening scenes less terrifying and the joyful scenes more sublime. And to always believe in yourself is to become a sanctuary for your own soul. In a world that often reflects back at you your perceived flaws and failures, you must become the one unwavering source of unconditional belief. This belief is not arrogance. Arrogance is a loud, brittle noise designed to convince others. True self-belief is the profound and quiet certainty that you are a vessel of immense, albeit unfolding, potential. It is the knowledge that you are worthy of your own efforts. When you marry this hope with this belief, your behavior cannot help but change. It is a natural, organic progression. A tree that believes in the sun does not struggle to grow towards it. It simply does. In the same way, a person who believes in their own capacity for light will naturally begin to move in directions where that light can shine more brightly. You will make different choices. You will engage in different conversations. You will persevere where once you would have surrendered. This is how the light floods in, not as a sudden, blinding explosion that erases all shadows, but as a gradual, gentle dawn born from the cumulative effect of 1,000 small, positive cues given to yourself in the quiet moments. You are day by day, word by word, cleaning the window of your perception until more and more light can stream through. Your life becomes filled with more light and hope, not because the world has magically transformed, but because you have become a more proficient weaver of light, a more steadfast keeper of hope. And in doing so, you gently touch the lonely heart in every person you meet, reminding them, without a word, that their own litany of light is waiting to be spoken. In the quiet corners of an ancient city, there lived an artisan who practiced kintsugi, the art of mending broken pottery with lacquer, dusted, and gold. People would bring her their shattered treasures, and she would sit with each fragment, studying its breakage patterns, as one might study the lines of a beloved's palm. She had a theory about breakage. "We are all vessels," she would murmur to her apprentices, "and life, in its relentless motion, will inevitably cause cracks. Some are hairline fractures from daily wear. Others are clean breaks from great falls. But the tragedy is not in the breaking. The tragedy is in believing the broken thing has lost its purpose." One day, a woman brought in a ceramic bowl that had been in her family for generations, now shattered beyond what seemed reparable. "It's ruined," the woman whispered, her voice heavy with the same fracture lines as the pottery. The artisan simply nodded, laying out the pieces on her workbench. As she began her work, she spoke softly, as if to both the woman and the broken clay. "When we say I am broken, we speak of ourselves as finished objects. But when we say I am healing, we invoke the golden joinery of time and attention. The cracks in this bowl will not disappear. They will become its most beautiful feature, the map of its survival. This is the alchemy we perform with our words. Each 'I will get better and better' is a stroke of golden lacquer along the fractures of our spirit. We are not denying our breaks and failures. We are choosing to highlight them as evidence of our capacity to hold ourselves together, transformed. There is a particular challenge that arrives not with storm and thunder, but with the slow, creeping fog of indifference. The medieval monks called it acedia, the noonday demon that whispers, 'Why bother? Nothing matters anyway.' In our modern vocabulary, we might call it burnout, depression, or simply exhaustion. Its language is one of erosion. What's the point? Nothing will change. I don't have the energy. This is when the litany of light becomes not just a practice, but a lifeline. When the fog is so thick you cannot see your own hand in front of your face, you must learn to navigate by sound rather than sight. The sound of your own voice repeating the simple, fundamental truths. I am here. This feeling will pass. I have survived all my worst days so far. These are not grandiose declarations of sudden happiness. They are small, sturdy boats in a sea of gray. They are the handholds carved into the mountain when the path has disappeared. A man who had lost his passion for his life's work found himself one afternoon simply staring at a blank wall. The thought, "I can't do this anymore," had become so familiar it felt like truth. But that day, he tried an experiment. He spoke to the emptiness in his room. "I don't know how to proceed, but I am willing to learn." The shift was almost imperceptible. Yet in that single sentence, he had moved from declaring an ending to acknowledging a beginning. He had replaced the period of "I can't" with the comma of "but." The noonday demon thrives on finality. It cannot withstand the humble power of "I am willing." The transformation does not usually arrive in a single glorious epiphany. It accumulates like dawn light. First a barely perceptible graying of the darkness, then the outline of shapes emerging from the void, until finally the full radiance of day arrives without fanfare. A woman who struggled with social anxiety began her litany each morning as she prepared her tea. "Today I will listen more than I speak," she would tell the steam rising from her cup. "I will offer my presence as a gift." At a party that evening, when the old panic began to rise, she remembered her morning words. Instead of focusing on her racing heart, she turned her attention fully to the person speaking to her. She discovered that in fulfilling her small promise to herself, the anxiety lost its power. Her behavior changed as a result, not through force of will, but through the natural unfolding of a seed she had planted hours earlier. This is the symphony of small affirmations. Not a single loud chord, but a melody woven through the ordinary moments. Making breakfast. I nourish myself. Walking to work, I move with purpose. Facing a difficult task, I engage with this fully. Each phrase is a thread in the tapestry. Alone, they seem insignificant. Together, they create a narrative of competence and grace that eventually becomes the story you recognize as your life. Just as light behaves as both particle and wave, so too does consciousness. We are both solid beings and fluctuating energies. Your words are the instruments that tune your frequency. When you habitually focus on the good side of things, you are not ignoring reality. You are selecting which frequency to amplify. Two people can walk through the same city street. One notices the litter in the gutter, the other the flowers blooming in a window box. Both are present. Both are accurate in their assessment. But they will carry away fundamentally different experiences of the same reality. The language of self-denial, I can't, I'm so unlucky, creates a low, heavy frequency. It attracts more of its kind. Like a magnet dredging the river bottom, it pulls up every sunken log and forgotten burden to confirm its worldview. But the language of affirmation, I am capable, I am learning, I am open to goodness, vibrates at a different pitch. It cannot help but resonate with other sources of light. Opportunities you would have overlooked suddenly become visible. People who reflect your own growing belief in yourself appear as if by magic. This is not the universe rewarding positive thinking. This is you having tuned your instrument to a new frequency, now able to hear the music that was always playing. The mind, left to its own devices, often travels to the haunted houses of the past or the anxiety dreams of the future. The litany of light exists only in the present tense. I am. I can. I will. These are declarations made from the eternal now. When you find yourself consumed by regret over what has been, your positive psychological cue, in this moment, I am safe. In this moment, I have everything I need to take the next breath. When you are paralyzed by fear of what might be, your anchor becomes, I trust myself to handle whatever comes. I have survived 100% of my bad days so far. A teacher, overwhelmed by the needs of her students and the limitations of the system, began to implement what she called breathing hours. On the hour, every hour, she would pause and state quietly, right now, I am exactly where I need to be. Right now, I am doing my best. This practice did not change her workload, but it changed her experience of carrying it. The mountain of tomorrow's papers became simply the paper in front of her. The anxiety about next month's evaluations became the conversation with the student before her. Your life will be filled with more light and hope when you learn to collapse the overwhelming timeline of past and future into the manageable container of the present moment. The now is the only place where change can actually occur. The now is the only time when your words can truly shape what happens next. There comes an hour when the world withdraws its demands, when emails cease their buzzing, when phones grow silent, when the last footsteps fade from the hallway. This is the hour of naked consciousness, when we stand unclothed before the mirror of our own soul. Here, in this vulnerability, the old language often returns like a ghost to its familiar haunt. I'm not good enough, the ghost whispers in the voice of every teacher who ever doubted you, every love that ever abandoned you, every opportunity that seemed to slip through your fingers. Many have fought this ghost with swords of forced positivity. I am magnificent. I am powerful. I am perfect. But such declarations often ring hollow in the midnight hour, for the soul recognizes exaggeration as another form of deception. The way of the litany is different. It does not shout. It does not deny the ghost's presence. Instead, it lights a candle and invites the ghost to sit. I hear you, it says. You are part of my story, but you are not the author. A musician who struggled with stage fright discovered this delicate dance. Before performances, the old narrative would surface. You will forget the notes. They will see how ordinary you are. For years, he tried to battle these thoughts with brash declarations. I'm the best musician here. They'll be amazed. But the anxiety only grew stronger, fed by the energy of his resistance. Then he changed his approach. When the fears arose, he acknowledged them with gentle precision. Ah, there is my familiar companion, stage fright. Thank you for trying to protect me. But tonight I choose to trust my hands. One choose to serve the music. He stopped fighting the ghost and started conversing with it. And in doing so, he reclaimed his power. No tree grows in isolation. Its health depends on the quality of soil, the availability of water, the presence of compatible plants. Similarly, your litany of light exists within an ecosystem of relationships, and your words have rhizomatic power to affect everything they touch. When you change your internal dialogue, you inevitably change your external conversations. The colleague who used to receive your complaints now receives your thoughtful questions. The child who used to hear your frustrations now hears your patience. The partner who braced for criticism now encounters understanding. This is not manipulation. This is the natural overflow of a transformed inner world. Consider a manager who began implementing the litany after years of what she called defensive leadership. Her morning affirmation became, "Today, I will see the best in my team and help them see it in themselves." The first changes were subtle. She replaced, "Why didn't this get done?" with, "What support do you need to move forward?" She stopped saying, "That's not how we do things," and started asking, "What possibilities do you see here?" Within months, her department's morale and productivity transformed. But the most remarkable change was what she didn't anticipate. Her team members began speaking to each other with the same generosity of spirit. The language of affirmation had spread like mycelium through the organizational culture. Your positive psychological cues ripple outward in ways you may never fully measure. The kindness you offer yourself becomes kindness available to others. The hope you cultivate in private becomes hope that blooms in public spaces. The path of transformation is not linear like a road, but cyclical like seasons. There are spring times of rapid growth, when new habits form easily and progress feels effortless. There are summers of consolidation, when what you've learned deepens and matures. There are autumns of release, when you shed patterns that no longer serve you. And there are winters, necessary winters, when everything seems dormant, when the litany feels like words spoken into frozen ground. In winter, we often make the mistake of thinking we've failed. I was doing so well, we lament, and now I'm back to my old doubts. But the winter of practice is not failure. It is the time when roots grow deep unseen. It is when the soul integrates what it has learned during more fertile seasons. An artist who worked with the litany found that her creativity flowed in cycles. For months, she would wake with excitement, her affirmations feeling vibrantly true. I am a channel for beauty. My work matters. Then would come periods when the canvas seemed to resist her, when her affirmations felt like empty repetitions. At first, she fought these periods, trying to force inspiration through sheer will. This only led to exhaustion and self-recrimination. Eventually, she learned to respect the rhythm. During fallow periods, her affirmation became, I am resting and receiving. My creativity knows its own timing. She discovered that after each intentional rest, her work returned with greater depth and originality. The winter periods weren't blocking her creativity, they were enriching it. As your practice deepens, you'll encounter a profound paradox, the need to hold multiple truths simultaneously. This is where the word "and" becomes your most sophisticated tool. The litany is not about replacing negative feelings with positive ones. It's about expanding your capacity to hold the full spectrum of human experience. I am capable and I need help. I am making progress and I have further to go. I feel afraid and I am moving forward anyway. This nuanced approach prevents spiritual bypassing, the tendency to use positive thinking to avoid legitimate pain and difficulty. A hospice nurse who taught her patients simple affirmations shared this wisdom. We don't say, I am perfectly healthy when the body is dying. That creates conflict with reality. We say, I am surrounded by love and my body is transitioning. I am at peace and I will miss this world. The power of "and" allows us to honor the complexity of our experience without abandoning our commitment to light. It prevents the litany from becoming another form of tyranny, another set of shoulds that make us feel inadequate when we can't maintain perfect positivity. Your journey with the litany will teach you this gentle art of inclusion. You'll learn to embrace your strength and your vulnerability, your wisdom and your confusion, your light and your shadows. For it is in this inclusive embrace that true wholeness and true healing resides.